Part 84. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 831. When Su Yang heard this, he said with a dark face, Wang Yangming, stop pretending to be awake, it's still me, it's your uncle. I admit that your strength is not weak, maybe stronger than me, but there is still a gap between you and the Emperor realm, let alone above the Imperial realm. Su Yang urged, who is Giguzi's master? Please tell me quickly. That's me. Wang Yangming glanced at Su Yang and said, I'm talking about Lao Tzu, not Lao Tzu. One life is two is three is all things, Lao Tzu. Su Yang suddenly realized and felt a little embarrassed. It turned out that he had misunderstood. I am an awesome person. It is said that after he set foot on the Imperial realm, he saw some unknown things, so he went west to Hang Pass to find the truth. Wang Yangming sighed and said, it's a pity that since then, there has been no news from him. In addition to me, there are also some familiar figures who have set foot on the Imperial realm. Wang Yangming said, for example, Quafu in mythical stories actually exists. When Quafu set foot on the Imperial realm and passed through the tribulation, he knew something. I don't know what it was specifically. No one knows. Wang Yangming continued, although Quafu successfully reached the Supreme Realm, his mood was very wrong. He asked why every day, but no one gave him an answer. Finally one day, he looked at the sun in the sky and seemed to see the dawn of hope. Quafu believes that at the end of the sun, there must be the truth he wants to know. Wang Yangming said, so, he began to measure the earth with his feet and chase the sun. During the process, there were some mountains that were very difficult to climb. Quafu didn't want to fly, so he used Fa Tian Xiang Di to enlarge his body countless times. Finally, his body was so majestic that the mountains only reached his ankles, and the mountains, rivers, and lakes could only serve as his drinking water. Wang Yangming continued, in this way, he chased to the end of the sky and the sea, and finally ran out of the earth, continuing to run in the sky and the universe, chasing the sun. Thousands of years have passed in the blink of an eye, and I don't know if Quafu has caught up with the sun. Wang Yangming raised his head and looked at the scorching sun outside the window. Self-mumbling. I and Quafu actually exist, and they are powerful men above the Imperial realm. Su Yang was very surprised, but quickly calmed down. Where have those powerful men above the Imperial realm gone now? Why didn't they show up when the earth was in danger? I can't answer this question for you. When Wang Yangming heard this, he smiled bitterly, because, I don't know. What I said was told to me calmly by Zilong, and this is all he knows. Did Zilong tell you? Su Yang frowned slightly and said, you just told me that Zilong left the earth more than 2,000 years ago. Now you say that you have talked with Zilong. Wang Yangming, could it be that you have lived from the Xianqin period to now? Wang Yangming obviously let something slip, and he felt a little embarrassed. Then he smiled and said, Brother Su, do we have to face each other when talking? I did talk to Zilong, but it was just a projection left behind. Wang Yangming continued, I am only a few hundred years old, how could I have seen Zilong? Su Yang nodded and did not continue the topic, but said, you mentioned Su Mo before, and you must also know Su Mo's people. He once told me that I had set up a big trap. Do you know what code this bureau is? Wang Yangming nodded and said, you have not only arranged formations in Wudane Mountain, but also in Jufeng Mountain, Mount Tai, Mount Imei, between mountains and seas, deep in the clouds and mist. In short, you have arranged formations in famous mountains and everywhere in the world. Wang Yangming responded, Su Mo and I are considered friends. We have met several times. He has a deep hatred for immortal Emperor Yanlong and will never stop fighting. I hope I can succeed this time. If I can kill the flame dragon immortal emperor by the way, that would be great. Wang Yangming paused for a moment, and then said, Immortal Emperor Xiantian has won. Yes, Dongshan, and that's where you got the key to the Dongfu. Wang Yangming shook his head and said, although your previous generation, Immortal Emperor Xiantian, trusted me very much, he didn't tell me many things. After all, I didn't have much strength at the time and couldn't be of much help. I only knew part of the things. Su Yang breathed a sigh of relief, and then asked, did I arrange the formation in Wudane Mountain in my previous life? Only the key to the East Mansion can revive the spiritual energy. Without it, no one can revive the spiritual energy. Dongshan, Su Yang frowned. However, Zilong did not expect that in his third life, he would go to Dongshan in advance and take away the key to the Dongfu. It was him who knocked the flame dragon Immortal Emperor out of the earth at the cost of his life. Good. Wang Yangming continued, simply, a trace of his soul escaped and he was lucky enough to survive. Wang Yangming said seriously, the key to the East Mansion is actually a key, the key to unlocking the recovery of spiritual energy. Brother Su, you've almost finished asking your questions. I want to tell you about the recovery of spiritual energy at this time, Wang Yangming said. Su Yang squinted his eyes slightly, a coldness flashed in his eyes, but then, he suddenly thought of a question that had troubled him for a long time, so he asked, Wang Yangming, is my great-grandfather Suwuji dead or alive now? Where are you again? I see. Su Yang nodded and said, let's go to Dongshan later. Make preparations early. By the way, there is a secret. It doesn't hurt to tell you now. In fact, the bet back then. I remember you said at the time that those formations include attack formations and defensive formations, and you gave the control of the formations to the major sects, so they are happy to let you arrange them. Su Yang didn't answer because he couldn't guess what he was thinking at the moment. You asked me before, didn't I tell you, he is not dead, he is in Wudane Mountain. Wang Yangming said seriously, this is what Zilong told me, it was Zilong's projection that told me. Before he tore through the void and left, he had already seen the future. Knowing that the earth would have spiritual energy reviving, he sent his emperor the weapon is left in Dongshan to draw on the majestic power in advance. Yes. I don't know. Wang Yangming said, the spiritual energy recovery will definitely start tonight, and the location is Dongshan. Reliable. Wang Yangming was a little confused, it's just that I haven't figured it out yet. Why did you do that? It was a waste of time and energy. The formation you set up is not very powerful. It can be destroyed directly in the realm of transcending tribulation. It can't do anything if it is too useful, it is like chicken ribs, tasteless when eaten, and a pity to throw away. Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, don't worry, Suwuji will enter the world today and will amaze everyone. Then do you know Su Mo? Is he reliable? Su Yang asked again. That's good. Well, you say it first. Wang Yangming continued, only you can really use the key to the East Palace. Even if others get it, they can only use it as a brick. Okay, Wang Yangming solemnly agreed. Reviving spiritual energy is no small matter. Brother Su, before the spiritual energy is revived, you must appear in Dongshan with the key to the East Palace. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 832. 1. Hearing Wang Yangming's words, Su Yang was stunned, his eyes filled with doubts. You mean, my great-grandfather successfully advanced to the nascent soul realm and broke the ominous suppression with his own strength? Su Yang asked. Good. Wang Yangming nodded and said with admiration, Suwuji firmly believes that man can conquer nature, and man's potential is endless, so he did it and successfully took that step. Because he broke the ominous oppression and transcended everyone on earth, the benefits Suwuji gained were beyond anyone's imagination. Wang Yangming continued, not even Immortal Emperor Xiantian can see through Suwuji's future growth space. The earth is not an ordinary star field. There have been many strong men above the emperor realm here. Zilong once guessed that the earth is likely to be the center of the universe. Wang Yangming continued, Suwuji breaks the ominous situation and the adventures he gets on earth are naturally extraordinary. I see. Su Yang nodded gently, feeling happy for his great-grandpa, and then asked again, there is another thing I don't understand. Since my great-grandpa has successfully advanced, it means that I have won. If this is the case, Immortal Emperor Yanlong will take the initiative to contact the Earth's ominous nature. I can continue to protect the Earth, so why risk stepping into reincarnation? Su Yang asked curiously. Because, no matter what, you have to step into reincarnation. Wang Yangming said seriously, this is what you told me yourself. In the Nine Nether Hell, you awakened the memory of the first-generation ancestral dragon and obtained the method to advance to the imperial realm. And entering reincarnation is the most critical part. More than 100 years ago, you came to Earth just to enter reincarnation here. Wang Yangming explained, actually, with your strength back then, you didn't need to be afraid of the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor at all. The Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor and the other two Immortal Emperors, even in their prime state, are tied together and cannot be your opponent. What's more, they are all trapped outside by the Earth's protective formation. Even if they come to the Earth forcibly, their realm will be suppressed. The strongest is only the Quasi-Emperor peak. Wang Yangming continued, you, the second-generation Xiantian Immortal Emperor, ignored the Earth's protective formation. Your realm has not been suppressed. You are still a strong emperor. With just a raise of your hand, you can kill the leader of the Yanlong Immortal Emperor, the three Immortal Emperors. It's just that you know very well that the three Yanlong Immortal Emperors are just clowns and should not be feared. The real enemy of the Earth is the big hand behind the scenes. Wang Yangming continued, in order not to alert the snake, and also to make the mastermind behind the scenes take it lightly, you left the three people of Yanlong Immortal Emperor behind. As for the bet back then, you deliberately arranged it and pretended to lose to the Yanlong Immortal Emperor. In this way, you and Suwuji can justifiably disappear. Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, after the bet ended, you went into hibernation, looking for opportunities to step into reincarnation, while Suwuji, under my arrangement, hid in the forbidden area of Wudane Mountain to digest the fortune he had received. That's it? Su Yang understood, but he didn't expect that things back then were so twists and turns. After a few seconds of pause, he suddenly thought of a question, wait a minute, I was the Xiantian Immortal Emperor back then, and Suwuji was just an ordinary person. I was even the one who taught Suwuji the cultivation methods and led him into the ranks of cultivation. Strictly speaking, I am half his master. Su Yang said with a somewhat unnatural expression, in this case, I choose reincarnation. Why should I be his great-grandson? If I choose reincarnation, why should I be his great-grandson? This generation is too low. Haha, I told you the same thing when you were about to be reincarnated. I thought you were losing your worth a bit. It would be so embarrassing to see Suwuzi in the future. Wang Yangming smiled and said, but you don't care, and you even rush to ask for help, because you know that Suwuji went against the will of heaven, broke the rules, and received a gift from heaven. In the near future, he will definitely become a terrifying figure, the presence. That's why you are so shameless in this reincarnation and become Suwuzi's great-grandson, just so that you can get Suwuzi's care in the future. Wang Yangming added, Brother Su, just be content. I don't understand reincarnation, otherwise your mother would have been pregnant with a second child, and we would be true brothers. Su Yang had a black line on his face and didn't know what to say for a moment, but it can also be seen from this that when Grandpa gets the opportunity, he must be extremely terrifying, which is a good thing. Speaking of this matter, Brother Su, you have to thank me. Without me, your grandfather would have been gone a long time ago. Naturally, your father would not have been born. If your father is gone, How could you become Su Wazi's important person, grandson? Wang Yangming did not sell out, and said directly, after your great-great-grandfather disappeared, the major ancient martial arts sects began to make plans for Kunlun Mountain. You should know about this, so I won't say more. Anyway, if I hadn't operated secretly and saved your grandfather, he would have been dead long ago. Wang Yangming continued, also, after escaping from Kunlun Mountain, your grandfather Sukyankan foolishly joined the army and almost died on the battlefield. I figured this out, and I was going to help your grandpa myself, but unexpectedly your great-grandpa Suwaji woke up. That was the first time he woke up after experiencing the thunder tribulation. He didn't even have time to change his clothes. At that time, he was already in the realm of overcoming the tribulation. It's terrifying. After setting foot in the nascent soul realm, I was promoted to the peak of the nascent soul on the spot. After a period of seclusion, I broke through to transcend the tribulation. This speed of progress is enviable. Wang Yangming continued, Suwaji knew that something had happened to his own son, so he couldn't sit still. Regardless of my dissuasion, he parachuted into the battlefield alone and saved your grandfather. Suwaji also knew that he needed to stay in hibernation, so he didn't communicate with your grandfather. He quickly returned to Wudang Mountain without leaving even a single word. This matter simply didn't cause much commotion. Su Yang nodded. He had heard from his grandfather about his appearance on the battlefield. Now, Su Yang was very curious about his great-grandfather's strength, so he asked, back then, my great-grandfather set foot on the realm of transcending tribulations. Now that more than 100 years have passed, he will definitely not stand still. Do you know that he is now? How far have you come? Not sure. Wang Yangming said truthfully, under my arrangement, Suwaji lived in seclusion in the forbidden area of Wudang Mountain. When I was in Wudang Mountain, we often met and discussed with each other. I left Wudang Mountain and traveled around decades ago. At that time, he was already a half-step quasi-emperor and could become a real quasi-emperor at any time. Wang Yangming continued, now that several decades have passed, I really don't know where he has gone. Maybe he has reached the middle and late stages of the quasi-emperor. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 833. Quasi-Emperor in the Middle and Late Stages. Su Yang's heart trembled. This was beyond his expectation. He didn't expect that his great-grandfather could achieve such terrifying achievements in such a short period of time while on Earth. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure exactly what realm Su Wazi has entered. Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, however, you will know soon. When the spiritual energy revives tonight, Suwaji will definitely be there. This time, we have a great chance of winning. Both Bai Qi and Shang Yang will appear. Wang Yangming continued, and Su Mo, plus your great-grandfather Su Wazi. On our side, there are 5 powerful quasi-emperors who can suppress everything. Wang Yangming said confidently, even if the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor comes in person, he is only at the peak of the quasi-emperor. Even if he has a real imperial weapon, the 5 of us quasi-emperors can still fight against him if we join forces. 5 quasi-emperors. Su Yang paused, frowned, and said, Bai Qi, Shang Yang, Su Mo, my great-grandfather, 1, 2, 3, 4, where does 5 come from? Wang Yangming, you don't know how to count. After hearing this, Wang Yangming did not answer. He just looked at Su Yang with a smile on his face, his eyes full of arrogance. The meaning was obvious. Are you also a quasi-emperor? Su Yang reacted immediately. Why, doesn't it look like it? Wang Yangming smiled softly and said, more than 100 years ago, I was already in the realm of transcending tribulations. Over the years, I have traveled around and made breakthroughs in myself in the rolling world. To put it simply, do you think I have been your son-in-law for so many years for nothing? Wang Yangming asked. All right. Su Yang touched the bridge of his nose and said with a wry smile, I just can't understand that a powerful quasi-emperor would be robbed by ordinary people, and almost forced to be pushed by an aunt in her 60s. It's unbelievable. Nah, brother Su, can you please stop mentioning this matter from now on? Wang Yangming suddenly felt that he was out of character and said with a dark face. It depends on your mood. Su Yang smiled and said, I probably know everything. It's important to revive the spiritual energy. Now let's go to Dongshan. Bai Qi has already gone to Dongshan before, let's rush over and join him now. Su Yang continued, by the way, please calculate when Shang Yang, Su Mo, and my great-grandfather will arrive. Wang Yangming looked at Su Yang and asked, are you a fool? Is there a hole in your head? They are all quasi-emperors with great fortunes. Are you asking me to count them because you think I have a long life? Didn't you count them out? Otherwise, how would you know they would come to Jiangbei tonight? Bullshit, it's just wool. I was entrusted by your second life to arrange this in advance. Wang Yangming said with a dark face, with my current ability, counting quasi-emperors occasionally is not a big problem, but counting 3 at once, do you want to see my orifices bleed? If you can't calculate it, you can't calculate it? Why are you so anxious? Su Yang curled his lips, and then urged, let's go, stop nagging, let's go to Dongshan. With that said, Su Yang opened the room and left. Screw it, I'll go by myself first, your confidant is here to find you, Wang Yangming said. Soulmate. Su Yang relaxed his mind, but didn't notice anyone coming, so he asked, Wang Yangming, please tell me clearly who is coming. You'll know in 10 minutes. Wang Yangming raised a playful smile at the corner of his mouth and said, there may be a battle later. Please stay away and don't get blood all over your body. I'll leave first. We'll meet up at Dongshan Cave Mansion. After speaking, Wang Yangming said no more, his figure flashed, and he quickly left the Su family manor. Someone comes to me to fight. Su Yang nodded, and then said, since you have made up your mind, it is useless for me to persuade you. Sister Zhao, you must be careful when you go outside the territory. When I finish my work and recover my spiritual energy, I will study the ancient road in the starry sky. At that time, I will go find you. At this moment, Li Feixuan walked out of the manor, took Su Yang's arm, and looked at Zhao with a smile. Leave Earth. Zhao said, only when I go outside the territory can I become stronger. I am here this time, firstly to say goodbye to you, and secondly to tell you the news about Yu and Zeng. Someone in Jufeng Mountain must have told you that those 2 little guys were taken away by me. Su Yang analyzed it for a while, then seemed to think of something, and said through gritted teeth, damn it, Wang Yangming, this piece of shit, let him take care of the business, if he doesn't do it, let him take care of my private life, but he takes it seriously and is not afraid of suffering what kind of backlash, what the hell. Su Yang frowned slightly and thought to himself, is it possible that someone wants to take action against me? Zhao continued, I brought them to the Zijia ancestral land. They will not be in danger. After the spiritual energy recovers, if the situation is favorable, you can take them to your side. Zhao stopped, her beautiful eyes fell on Su Yang, and her beautiful face rarely showed a smile. At this moment, it was time to say goodbye. Zhao stared at Su Yang, her heart filled with reluctance. Su Yang cursed, then strode out of the Su family manor and stood outside waiting. She then realized that the little guy in her mouth was already her father, and she could no longer call him that. I'm leaving. I will leave the earth today. I am weak and I can't help much with the spiritual energy recovery. No need to persuade me, Su Yang, I have made up my mind. Wang Yangming figured it out. Since he left, it means he doesn't pose a threat to me. Zhao shook her head, and then she became a little depressed, with a slightly reluctant expression. I came here to say goodbye to you. The person who came was none other than Zhao. Not long after, he noticed a familiar aura, and sure enough, someone was looking for him. You have protected me and helped me many times. At that time, it will be my turn to protect you, Su Yang said seriously. No. Sister Zhao. She was wearing a long white dress, falling down, only 2 meters away from Su Yang. After learning that Long Xingtian had practiced yin-yang dragon magic, Zhao made up his mind to bring his own martial arts back to the world. Zhao looked at Su Yang and showed a smile. Zhao's temperament is fresh and refined, and her appearance is stunning. She feels like a big sister. Zhao sighed and said, so, I won't stay and cause trouble for you. I will embark on the ancient road in the starry sky, leave the earth, and seek opportunities outside the territory. Su Yang was stunned and asked with confusion on his face, Sister Zhao, no one knows what is going on at the other end of the starry sky ancient road. How could you have this idea? It's too risky. I firmly disagree. Su Yang met Zhao's gaze and smiled softly. Why are you here? Come in and sit down. Su Yang. Su Yang. Su Yang, who is this sister? The way she looks at you is quite interesting. The situations of Zhao and Long Xingtian are basically the same. They both belong to families that have been oppressive for an era. In the past, she always called Su Yang little guy, but after getting along with Su Yu and Su Zeng. But the situation on the earth is a bit complicated, so Zhao wants to go outside the territory and grow stronger outside the territory. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 834. After seeing Concubine Li's announcement, Su Yang immediately thought of the battle Wang Yangming mentioned. Only now did he know that the fight Wang Yangming was talking about was not that he was going to fight with others, but that there might be a fight between Li Feiquan and Zhao. No. Not possible. Wang Yangming knew everything, and this battle was bound to happen. However, Su Yang still wanted to struggle. What if the two of them stopped fighting? Wife. Su Yang met Li Feiquan's gaze and smiled softly. She is Zhao. She has saved me several times. Oh. Li Feiquan glanced at Su Yang, and then smiled elegantly and said, Zhao, this name is very nice, and the person is beautiful. Hello, let me meet you. I am Su Yang's fiancé, Li Feiquan. Zhao nodded and said, Li Feiquan, I have heard your name, and judging from your appearance, you are indeed worthy of Su Yang. Have you heard my name? Su Yang mentioned me to you, Li Feiquan asked with a smile. That's not true. Zhao shook her head and said truthfully, Qian Shangxiu, the leader of Zhifeng Mountain, told me some things, including you. That's it. Li Feiquan smiled and said, I'm very confused. How did she evaluate me? She said you were fine. Zhao is not a fool. She can feel Li Feiquan's hostility towards her, but she doesn't care. Instead, she goes on to say, she told me everything about you and Qian Shangxiu. She told me more than once. She can't forgive you, she did something wrong back then, and she said that if she has a chance in the future, she will personally come to your door and apologize to you. Apologize to me? Li Feiquan had a slightly complicated feeling in her heart when she heard this. Actually, when Qian Shangxiu and Su Yang did that kind of thing, even though Li Feiquan said she didn't care, why wasn't she a little angry in her heart? But she would not choose to break up with Qian Shangxiu because of this, because she knew that Su Yang would not belong to her alone. However, Li Feiquan really wanted to get an explanation from Qian Shangxiu. As long as Qian Shangxiu came, even if she didn't apologize, she just stood in front of her and looked at each other with a smile, and this matter could be completely revealed. But it's been so long and Qin Shangxiu is still nowhere to be seen. She must have come to Jiangbei to see Li Feixuan. What does it mean? Disdainful to explain, disdainful to express apology, or simply look down on yourself? Li Feixuan couldn't figure it out, and over time, she became a little concerned. Forget it. Li Feixuan said in a low mood, if she really thought so, she would have come to me long ago. 5 or 6 years have passed since that incident, and Qian Shangxiu has never come to see me. She came to Jiangbei half a year ago, but she didn't appear in front of me as Zhang Shue'er. Li Feixuan showed a self-deprecating smile. I don't want to mention this matter anymore. As for how to solve it later, it's up to Su Yang to make his own decision. Li Feixuan, you misunderstood. When Xiao heard this, she immediately explained, Qian Shangxiu originally planned that after the 100 sex martial arts competition, when everything has settled, she would come to you and tell you everything in person. But after the 100 sex martial arts competition, the Great Terror at the foot of Zhifeng Mountain became restless again. In order to save Zhifeng Mountain and for the sake of thousands of living beings, Qian Shangxiu had no choice but to return to Zhifeng Mountain and suppress the Great Terror by himself. Xiao continued, until now, Qin Shangxiu is still lying in the ice coffin at the foot of Zhifeng Mountain, in danger, with life at any time. What? When Li Feixuan heard this, she immediately became nervous and asked, everything you said is true, you didn't lie to me, right? Wife. Su Yang also explained, what Sister Xiao said is true. Shue'er is indeed suppressing the Great Terror at the foot of Zhifeng Mountain. Once the Great Terror breaks through the formation, Shue'er's life will be in danger. This matter is rather complicated, so I won't explain it to you too much. In short, I have found a solution. Shue'er will not be in danger in a short time, Su Yang added. I didn't expect this to happen. After Li Feixuan got the definite answer, she blamed herself and said, I was too pretentious and I wrongly blamed Shue'er. It's not your fault. Anyone else would feel uncomfortable. I understand. Xiao looked at Li Feixuan and then said, Qian Shangxiu also told me something. Li Feixuan, do you want to hear it? What's the matter? Li Feixuan asked curiously. She said that if you want to be a woman in Su Yang, you must first obtain your consent, and then everything will be based on you. If you can't do this, you are not worthy of being a woman in Su Yang. Xiao looked at Li Feixuan and said seriously, now I want to ask you, can I be Su Yang's woman? Well. Before Li Feixuan spoke, Su Yang next to her said with a confused smile, Sister Xiao, if you scare me, stop making fun of me. I'm not kidding, everything I said is true. Xiao met Su Yang's gaze and said with great seriousness, I want to be your woman. From the first time I saw you, you attracted my attention. No, it should be said that it is your face that attracts me, because you are so similar to Sister Yuyan. Xiao fell into memories and continued, back then, when I first entered the world of mortals, the first person I met who was truly kind to me was Sister Yuyan. She helps me with everything and takes good care of me. Whenever I am with her, I will be very happy. When she is bullied and unhappy, I will be very angry. Xiao showed a smile, of course, I can't really let anyone bully her. As long as I'm here, no one can touch a hair of Sister Yuyan. However, there is one person who is an exception. That person is your father, Su Shenbing. Xiao smiled and replied, when I saw him and Sister Yuyan together, I felt very jealous and even had the idea of strangling Su Shenbing to death. But I know that Sister Yuyan likes Su Shenbing. If Su Shenbing dies, Sister Yuyan will be very sad, so I let Su Shenbing go. The happiest time in my life was when I spent time with Sister Yuyan on the battlefield. Xiao said with a hint of disappointment, unfortunately, she and Su Shenbing left the battlefield together and returned to Jiangbei. I know that Sister Yuyan does not belong to me. She belongs to Su Shenbing and their children. She has her own life, and I also have my own life. So, I sent them away, stayed in Kyoto, founded the National Blade, and kept myself completely busy. However, I never thought that Sister Yuyan would encounter an accident and even lose her life. Speaking of this, Zhao gritted her teeth and said, I got the news and went to Kyoto as soon as possible. Su Shenbing told me that Sister Yuyan died of illness. How is this possible? How could a good person suddenly get sick and die? There must be something fishy in this. Zhao shook her head and said, it's a pity that Sister Yuyan is dead. No matter how much we talk, it's useless. I can't eradicate the Su family, otherwise Sister Yuyan's spirit in heaven will definitely be sad. I left heartbroken. I thought I would never set foot in Jiangbei again or have any contact with the Su family in this life. Zhao regained her composure, showed a smile, and continued, but I didn't expect that because Hong Lian was so upright, I came to Jiangbei again and saw you. As he said that, Zhao's eyes fell on Su Yang, with a very happy expression. Su Yang, you know, you are like a ray of light shining into my heart. This has something to do with Sister Yuyan, but it has nothing to do with her. Your father, Su Shenbing, used to often call me Lily and say that I love Sister Yuyan. Actually, only I know that this is not true. I only treat Sister Yuyan as a sister. I just hope that she will live a better life and like the feeling of being with her. Zhao said seriously, I know very well that it's not love, it's just a normal relationship between best friends. As for why I'm not looking for a man, it's because no man has caught my eye yet. But, Su Yang, you are different, because you look similar to Sister Yuyan, which made me let go of my heart. As I slowly got in touch with you, I realized that I had fallen in love with you. Zhao looked at Su Yang and said sincerely, I don't like to hide my feelings. If you like it, you like it, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. I never hesitate in this matter. This time we say goodbye, I will go outside the territory, and you may never see me again. Zhao was a little reluctant to say goodbye, this farewell will probably be forever, so I want you to know that I, Zhao, like you. Su Yang was stunned after listening to Zhao's words quietly. Facing Zhao's vigorous confession, he was completely stunned. His mind was buzzing and he didn't know what to do. This confession is very warm at this time, Li Feixuan said with a smile. Li Feixuan. Zhao looked at Li Feixuan and asked seriously again, if I can come back from outside the territory, or if you go outside the territory, no matter what changes happen to me, I will take you as the priority in everything. Even if you are not as powerful as me, I can kill you with just a raise of my hand, but I will still put you first. Can you agree to my request and let me be Su Yang's woman? Zhao said sincerely. When Li Feixuan heard these words, she suddenly felt a little unhappy, and she became very competitive. Originally, I didn't have any objections. You like Su Yang, but as long as Su Yang likes you too and you will listen to me, then just stay together and I'm a very easy to talk to. But, what you said next makes me very dissatisfied. What do you mean you are very strong, and you can kill me with just a raise of your hand? Li Feixuan said unconvinced, how dare you say such things? Do you know how strong I am now? No matter how strong you are, you will never be as strong as me. Zhao said truthfully, she would not lie. Li Feixuan was unhappy immediately. She seemed to want to establish her image as the principal wife, so she said, Zhao, right? It seems that you are very confident in your own strength. What a coincidence, I am also very confident. Why don't we give it a try? Good. Zhao agreed without hesitation. Don't. Seeing this, Su Yang hurriedly stepped forward to smooth things over. Honey, Sister Zhao, you are both very strong and very powerful. There is no need to compete. It won't be good if anyone gets hurt. It doesn't matter. We just want to compare notes and have a taste of it. It's not a real fight. Li Feixuan continued, besides, don't you have healing elixirs? It's okay if you get injured. You'll recover soon. But Su Yang wanted to say something else, but Li Feixuan interrupted, okay, Su Yang, you can be the referee and watch us play. Really? There will still be a war. It seems that what Wang Yangming said has come true. This dog's calculations are quite accurate. Wang Yangming also said just now that he should stay away from me. Well, that makes sense. I won't be the referee. I'm afraid of getting blood all over me. You guys fight slowly, I have something urgent to deal with and I'll run away first. Sister Zhao, if you insist on going outside the territory, take care of yourself. Believe me, it won't be long before I have the strength to overpower Can You. When the time comes, even if I travel across the infinite universe and hundreds of thousands of star fields, I will still find you. After leaving a few words, Su Yang did not hesitate and left the Su family manor quickly with a flash of figure as if running for his life. Okay, now that Su Yang is gone, we can fight freely. Li Feixuan smiled softly and said, before that, I can tell you that I am at the peak of martial master, and I am only one step away from the martial saint realm. What about you, what realm? I used to be an ancient warrior with an average level. Later, I switched to the cultivation system and regained my peak strength. Now I am a 9-turn fake elixir. Zhao said truthfully, if we compare it to the ancient martial arts system, although it cannot beat the early stage of Yuanying, it can still compete with 1 or 2. Li Feixuan, with all due respect, the peak martial master is not necessarily my opponent, Zhao said bluntly. It's quite powerful, but you will know who is stronger and who is weaker after trying it. If you beat me, I will agree to your request just now, Li Feixuan said. Good. Hearing this, Zhao immediately became serious and stared at Li Feixuan in a prepared manner. Li Feixuan competed against an evenly matched opponent for the first time, and she was very serious. Just like that, the two of them started fighting outside the Su family manor. The scene was full of genkai and spiritual energy, and the scene was very big. About 10 minutes passed, and the fight ended after the two exchanged palms. There is no doubt that Li Feixuan is slightly inferior, but the loss is not ugly. I lost. Concubine Li Xian smoothed her hair in front of her forehead and smiled softly, I agree to your request. Thank you, Zhao said happily. Don't be so polite. In fact, my impression of you is not bad. Judging from Su Yang's appearance, I don't dislike you either. I'm just following the trend. Concubine Li smiled and then asked, are you really going to leave the earth and go outside the territory? Well, I have to go, Zhao nodded seriously. Why? Li Feixuan asked in confusion, there are many dangers outside the territory. No one can guarantee that you can survive. Isn't it bad to stay on Earth? Why do you have to go outside the territory? It's complicated to say, and I shouldn't say it, but I'm leaving soon, so it doesn't hurt to tell you. Zhao's eyes fell on Li Feixuan and smiled softly, do you want to hear my story? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 835. Your story. When Li Feixuan heard this, she didn't hesitate at all and smiled softly, if you want to say something, I'm willing to listen. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone, including Su Yang. Ken. Zhao smiled and then fell into memories, maybe you don't know. If I tell you my age, I'm afraid you will be shocked. Tens of thousands of years have passed since the Earth's current era, and I already existed before this era. Zhao continued, I come from several eras above. Every time the era is destroyed, I can survive with secret techniques. This is a secret technique developed by my father combined with the martial arts of the 11 family. Of course, the price to pay to avoid the destruction of an era is very high. Every time I escape by chance, I wait for the next era to open, and then slowly become stronger. Zhao continued, originally, I had an older brother who also practiced the secret technique that my father developed before he died. The two of us depended on each other, and he took good care of me. He has been with me for several epochs. Without him, I would have died long ago. The destruction of the era is the reincarnation of heaven's law. Whenever there is an existence between heaven and earth that can affect heaven's law will destroy the earth and reshuffle it. My brother and I naturally know this. The goal of both of us is to find an opportunity to fight against the law of heaven and prevent the destruction of the era. Otherwise, it won't matter if we set foot in the imperial realm. No one can live forever, and no one can survive death. Speaking of this, Zhao showed a helpless smile. However, fighting against the law of heaven is not easy. We have tried several times, but there is no chance of success. The last era was destroyed because of the yin-yang dragon magic of the Long clan. Forget it, it's not important. What's important is that my brother and I escaped the destruction of another era. Zhao continued, so, we came to the current era and lived in secret for tens of thousands of years. One day, my brother couldn't bear it anymore. He lost confidence and no longer wanted to study the ways of fighting against heaven. He decided to enjoy life. If we master the secret technique, we can avoid the destruction of the era. Although the new era has arrived and we have gone through the process of going from weak to strong, which is very difficult, we can survive every time, so in a true sense, we are already immortals. That's why my brother wanted to change his way of life. He saw through everything and decided to follow the way of heaven and enjoy glory and wealth. Zhao continued, I am different from him. I am very stubborn. I must do what I want to do. The moment I learned about my brother's thoughts, I was very disappointed with him, but I also understand him. The destruction of several eras has dealt us a huge blow. I have a strong willpower and can't bear it. It all depends on perseverance. Persist in. Zhao said, I don't blame my brother, let him choose the lifestyle he likes. He married a wife and had children, and he had many wives and concubines. He became the ancestor of the 11 family in this era, while I devoted myself to cultivation in the ancestral land of the 11 family. Era, destroyed. Concubine Li was confused when she heard it, and couldn't help but said, what you said sounds so fantasy to me. You have already reached the peak of martial arts. You can fly into the air for a short period of time, and you can break mountains and rubble with your true energy. People who follow the cultivation system can even control the spiritual energy between heaven and earth, and the 5 elements, and go up to the sky and into the earth. Zhao met Li Feixuan's gaze and smiled softly, think about this carefully, do you still think what I said is fantasy? Alright. Hearing what Zhao said, Li Feixuan's worldview was immediately refreshed, and then she asked, what happens next, where is your brother? He went outside the territory. When Zhao heard this, her expression became slightly gloomy, and then she continued, people, once they worry too much, it is easy to change their decision. My brother has already planned to follow the way of heaven and no longer consider doing anything against heaven. But as he married and had children, he began to care about more and more people. He had a huge family with hundreds of descendants. He wanted them all to survive and live forever, especially my sisters-in-law. My brother has a very deep relationship with them. Although through some means, one can keep their appearance forever and increase their longevity, once the era is over, none of them will be able to survive. Zhao sighed. Don't you know the secret technique? You can avoid the destruction of the era. Why don't you teach it to them? Li Feixuan asked curiously. No. Zhao shook his head and said, "It's not that we are stingy and reluctant to give up the secret technique, but that kind of secret technique cannot be practiced by everyone. My brother and I have been carefully trained by our father since we were young. In our era, there were countless treasures of heaven and earth, so we have swallowed countless good things and have a strong foundation." Zhao continued, "Also, at that time, my father was the strongest man on earth. Our family had suppressed the earth for tens of thousands of years. During this period, my father used all the strength in the world to train each of me and my brother. Created an extremely powerful treasure. It is precisely because of that treasure and the foundation we laid by swallowing heavenly materials and earthly treasures that we can use secret techniques to avoid the destruction of the era." Zhao smiled bitterly and said, "The current earth has long passed its golden age. My brother cannot bring out treasures to lay the foundation for his descendants, nor can he refine the kind of treasures that his father gave us, so his descendants naturally cannot. Maybe you can learn a secret skill." "So, your brother went outside the territory in order to find an opportunity to change the pattern of heaven and earth?" Li Fixuan asked. Zhao nodded and said, "Going outside the territory is his only chance. If he stays on earth, he can only wait for death slowly. Although this revival of spiritual energy can bring the earth into a short golden period, according to my experience, after the great prosperity, there will be a great decline." Zhao continued, "If nothing else happens, I am afraid that the earth today will have a lifespan of at most 100 years. After 100 years, the era will be destroyed. My brother has left the earth to look for opportunities. I don't want to sit still and wait for death. Even if it's not for the 11 family, I still have to work hard for the people I love." Zhao said sternly, "Only by defeating heaven and breaking the curse of the era, the one I love will never leave me. When it comes to this, I won't advise you anymore. I hope you can succeed. You are a person worthy of my admiration." Li Fixuan looked at Zhao. The more she looked at it, the more she admired it. Then she suddenly remembered a question and asked with a smile, "By the way, I suddenly want to ask you something. If you are outside the territory this time and do not succeed, you will return to Earth before the end of the era. Li Fei, the epoch is over. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 836. Meeting. Zhao said without hesitation, "I will not consider this. Even if Su Yang is unwilling, I will forcefully hand over the treasure to him. I have lived long enough, and I am tired of the destruction of the era. Every time I lose what I know, every time I have to practice again, every time I have to suffer in despair." Zhao Yun said lightly, but Li Fixuan could feel the pain deep in her heart. "Actually, I have already made plans for going outside the territory this time." Zhao looked at Li Fixuan and continued, "This time, there must be two results. 1. I have the power to fight against heaven and will come to help the earth tide over the difficulties. 2. I failed, I didn't succeed, and my life was even in danger." Zhao continued, "There is nothing to say in the first case, everyone is happy. If it is the second case, I will tear apart the space and send the treasure in my body to the earth and give it to Su Yang. There is a secret brand on the treasure. Even if Su Yang doesn't practice, it can still help him avoid the destruction of the era." Zhao showed a smile, "It doesn't matter if I die, as long as he can survive, I will have no regrets." Concubine Li was very moved when she heard this. At the same time, she was also reflecting on herself. If she thought about it in another person's shoes, would she do this if she were Zhao? Zhao's love for Su Yang is really great. How will you choose yourself? After Li Fixuan was briefly confused, she had the answer in her heart. Isn't it the happiest thing to be able to pay for the people she loves? Okay, Li Fixuan, I probably told you what happened, and I'm leaving. Zhao reminded, about the destruction of the era, I hope you won't tell Su Yang, lest he lose confidence. Also, there is no need to tell Su Yang in advance about the treasure and the secret brand. I'm afraid that he won't accept it and all my hard work will be wasted, Zhao added. Don't worry, I understand. Li Feixuan nodded, then smiled, and said, I wish you smooth sailing and continuous improvement outside the territory. I will wait for your return on Earth, and then I will let you be the third child. I'm the eldest son. Don't think about the second eldest son. It must be Shuer. With Su Yang's popularity as a woman, even if you are the third eldest child, there must be many younger sisters at your disposal, Li Feixuan said half-jokingly, hoping that she could lighten the heavy atmosphere. That's it, thank you. See you again if we have the chance. Zhao showed a happy smile, and then with a thought, the figure disappeared on the spot. Zhao. Li Feixuan watched Zhao leave and smiled softly, you taught me a lesson. If I have the chance, I am willing to be like you and do my best, even if I sacrifice my life, to protect the people I care about. They are all talking about spiritual energy recovery, but it has little to do with me, and I can't help much. In retreat, now I have to practice hard and strive to become stronger one day. At the same time. At this time, the leader of the 10 old Taoist priests asked, Wan Kongyun, what do you want to do here today? Outside the forbidden area, there are 10 of the strongest old Taoist priests of Tianji sect guarding them. Each of these old Taoist priests has lived for hundreds of years, and their strength is not weaker than that of the contemporary sect leader Wan Kongyun. There is a forbidden area in Tianji Gate that no one is allowed to enter except the gate owner. Uncle, let's count the days. The spiritual energy will be revived today. Should we invite the person from the secret room? In order to strengthen the defensive capabilities of the Chaos Aurora Array and resist the invasion of the Immortal Emperor from outside the territory, the loyal and brave monks of the earth, without hesitation, jumped into the array one by one and used their flesh and blood to create a barrier. Is the spiritual energy finally coming back? The old Taoist priest sighed again and said, I don't know if Immortal Emperor Yanlong will come again this time. Wan Kongyun kept walking, showed a smile, and then said, because, his name is Suwuji, the man who believed that man can conquer nature. Uncle, you don't have to worry. The earth is different now. After the layout of the big man, the old sect master invited 2 Giga disciples to make preparations, and the person in the secret room came forward, as well as the original general. Immortal Emperor Yanlong drove out Su Mo from the earth. Wan Kongyun, the master of Tianji sect, took Wang Ye outside the secret room. The old Taoist priest who spoke showed a complicated expression and murmured to himself, I don't know how many innocent people will be killed or injured this time, hey. At this moment, Wan Kongyun continued, furthermore, those who dare to prevent the resurgence of spiritual energy are not good people. Our side, with so many experts, should be at an advantage. If those people are killed, they will be killed. The old Taoist priest continued, it is a pity that the most powerful immortal emperor Yanlong was allowed to enter the earth in the end, while the other 2 immortal emperors were weaker and were blocked out. Wan Kongyun continued, this is the arrangement of the old sect leader. He sent me a message before and asked me to come here to invite people today. Those little minions are nothing. I'm worried that there will be masters from outside the territory. When the time comes, it will definitely cause the destruction of all life on the earth, causing countless casualties and bringing a heavy blow to the earth. Wan Kongyun bowed and took Wang Ye into the secret room. After the flame dragon immortal emperor came to earth, he killed countless people on earth and forcibly crushed earth's powerful monks. It's so sad and deplorable. Uncle, this is inevitable. If the earth wants to be strong, it must experience spiritual energy recovery. He is very powerful. The old Taoist priest said with compassion, the people outside the territory are too cruel. I have seen fragments of what happened more than 2,000 years ago, and I can still vividly remember it. Their seniority is higher than that of Wan Kongayun, but they just focus on cultivation and don't want to be the leader of the sect. Even with this thought in mind, Li Fixuan returned to the room where she lived, sat cross-legged and practiced seriously. Long before the ancient martial arts revolution, they were already at the pinnacle of the land martial gods. Over time, they accumulated so much that they exploded, even after their spiritual energy revived. I hope so. People are inside, you can go in, the old Taoist priest said. These 10 people have all stepped into the half-step martial saint realm, and are only one step away from becoming a true martial saint. Master, who is the person in the secret room? Why have I never heard you mention it before? Is he very powerful? Wang Ye couldn't help but ask as the master and apprentice walked in the passage of the secret room. Wan Kongayun said confidently, we are bound to win this battle, and no one can stop the resurgence of spiritual energy. Seeing the 10 old Taoist priests sitting cross-legged in the secret room, Wan Kongayun greeted respectfully, I have met all of you, uncles and uncles. I've met Master. Wang Ye also saluted with awe. Wudane Mountain, Tianji Gate. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 837. Suwuji. Wang Ye was no stranger to this name. On the contrary, he had heard it countless times and even admired Suwuji. A man who has conquered the earth is so amazing that I admire him with admiration. Master, are you saying that Suwuji is in our forbidden area of Wudane Mountain? Wang Ye said slightly excitedly. Wan Kongayun nodded and said, on that day, on behalf of that powerful man, he bet against the flame dragon immortal emperor. He would use his own power to break the ominous suppression and break through to the nascent soul realm. I know this. Wang Ye said, Senior Suwuji lost in the end, failed to escape the tribulation, and disappeared from sight. No one has heard from him again. No, you don't. Wan Kongayun shook his head, then smiled softly. Suwuji didn't fail back then, he succeeded. Just to deceive others and develop his strength silently, he made the world think that he ended in failure. Wan Kongayun continued, since then, he was brought back to Wudane Mountain by the old sect leader. This place has also become a forbidden area in Wudane Mountain. No one is allowed to set foot there, just to give Suwuji a quiet place to practice. This Suwuji is a big shot. Back then, the old sect leader concluded that Suwuji would become a great person in the future, and it would be easy to reach the imperial realm. What? Emperor realm? Wang Ye said in shock, can cultivators on earth really reach the imperial realm? That's natural. The former ancestral dragon was a powerful emperor. After the ancestral dragon left the earth, a second emperor appeared on the earth. Wan Kongayun sighed softly and said, it's a pity that the second emperor is in a bad state. He sometimes goes crazy and sometimes wakes up. He is not suitable to be born now. Otherwise, he can deal with Yanlong immortal emperor on his own. Wang Ye fell into silence after hearing his master's words. There were emperor-level masters on earth, which greatly exceeded his expectations. Wang Ye, don't be hit. With your talent, if you can revive your spiritual energy, you will have a chance to aspire to the imperial realm in the near future. Wan Kongayun comforted him, I brought you here to see Suwuji this time because I want you to have a good relationship with him. You can ask him for more advice in the future, which will be beneficial and harmless. Yes. Wang Ye agreed respectfully, feeling extremely excited in his heart. Suwuji was his idol. He would be able to see Suwuji soon, how could he not be excited? Soon. Under the leadership of Wan Kongayun, the two came to the depths of the forbidden area, where they met Suwuji. At this moment, Suwuji sat cross-legged on the futon. There was a vent above his head, and the sunlight filtered in and shone on him. Today, Suwazi is unkempt, his hair is long and messy, and his black and white beard is more than 20 centimeters long. Especially the clothes he was wearing were in tatters, like a beggar on the roadside. But the power that Suwaji exuded was so chilling that people didn't even dare to approach him. Aha! After Wan Kongayun and Wan Ya appeared, Suwaji slowly raised his head, and his eyes suddenly fell on the two of them. He opened his mouth, and his voice was hoarse because he hadn't spoken for a long time. Wan Kongayun, who is the person next to you? Brother Su, he is my apprentice, Wan Yet. He has always admired you. Today I brought him here to see your style, Wan Kongayun said politely, and motioned to Wan Yet to say hello to Suwaji. I have a great grandson. By the way, what is Sukyankin's strength now? Is he following the cultivation system or the ancient martial arts system? Suwaji asked. Great grandson. When Wan Kongayun saw this, he said, Suwaji, you have seen it too, go down, I have something to say to Suwaji. Suwaji looked at Wan Ye for a few times, nodded and said, your talent is indeed not weak. I predict that your future achievements with your extraordinary skills will be no less than Wan Yangming's, and may even surpass him. Practice hard. Wudane Mountain in the future needs you to maintain it. Junior Wudane Wan Ye has met Senior Suwaji. Yes. Suwazi didn't hide anything, nodded and said, if not for this, he only knows how to achieve anything if he only knows how to enjoy himself. Disciple. Not too much, not at all. Ha ha. Suwaji smiled and said, each generation gets stronger than the next, Su Shenbing, right? When I get out, I must meet this cheap grandson. Wan Kongayun continued, however, Sukyankin's son Su Shenbing, your grandson, is quite good. Just yesterday, he completed the first broken golden pill, which is already a fake pill. They say they are no stronger than 3 generations. I don't want the Su family to be ruined by the 2nd generation. When Suwaji heard the news, he immediately laughed heartily and said, that kid from Kinkan usually eats, drinks and has fun, is idle, has no ambition to make progress, has no knowledge and skills, has no ambition to improve, is neither good nor good, neither fish nor fowl, in short, very out of tune. I didn't expect that the Su family would flourish. It's great, it's great. Don't be happy yet, there are stronger ones. At that time, I was very prosperous. Many people came to ask me for advice and humbly learned from me to improve their own strength. Suwaji said seriously, I am already complimenting him. You don't know that at that time, the quasi-emperor did not come out, the ancient martial arts were in decline, and the cultivation system had faults due to ominous reasons. I can reach the peak of pill formation. Overwhelm the earth. Ha ha ha. Wan Ye saluted respectfully, lowering his head and not daring to look into Suwazi's eyes. Thank you for the compliment, senior. I will definitely live up to expectations, Wan Ye agreed in awe. Wan Kongayun smiled and said, your great-grandson Su Yang has taken control of the Void Tower. He is now at the nascent soul realm. The old sect leader just sent news that he has reached the peak of the nascent soul and is about to pass the tribulation. Brother Su, I admit that my disciple is talented, but compared with your great-grandson, he is still far behind, Wan Kongayun said with a smile. It used to be an ancient martial arts system, but later it was changed to cultivation. The foundation was successfully established some time ago. You are a very good apprentice, what a good young man, Suwazi said. Of course it's true, why should I lie to you? Suwaji continued, but my own son Sukyankin is a big fool. He hates cultivation and spends all day eating and waiting to die. I'm so angry. Wan Ye didn't hesitate at all, clasped his fists and bent down to exit the secret room. Wan Kongayun smiled softly and said, Brother Su, don't think about it carefully. You have been in seclusion for more than 100 years. Not to mention you have great-grandsons. Even your son Sukinkan has great-grandchildren. Wan Konggyun smiled softly and said, no wonder you signaled Ximen Fengyun and encouraged the major ancient martial arts sects to besiege Kunlun Mountain, presumably to force Sukinkan. Brother Su, is it a bit too much for you to evaluate your son like this? Wan Konggyun stroked his beard and smiled. Ha ha. When Suwuji heard this, he was immediately excited and asked in a hurry to confirm, Wan Konggyun, you didn't deceive me, did you? Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 838. What? After learning about his great-grandson's achievements, Suwuji was even more ecstatic and couldn't help laughing. Each generation is stronger than the last, and each generation is stronger than the last. Sukinkan is useless, his son is a bit talented, and his grandson is even more unique. Excited, Suwuji asked, by the way, how old is my great-grandson this year? Is he 40 years old? 40, you are overthinking it. I am in my early 20s today, Wan Konggyun said truthfully. Early 20s, peak nascent soul, this. Suwuji was extremely excited. It could be seen from his expression that he was extremely excited at this moment. My Su family is greatly prosperous, haha. Brother Su, you also have a great-great-grandson and a great-great-granddaughter. Those two little guys are not simple characters either. Wan Konggyun broke the news again and smiled softly, especially your great-great-granddaughter, she was born as a Tianzong, and now she is even more extraordinary. I don't know the specific realm, but I have seen her bones, and hundreds of millions of people, it's hard to pick just one. Okay, okay, okay. Suwuji stood up excitedly and said excitedly, I'm leaving seclusion today. It's time to see my relatives. Brother Su, I came to see you today. It's really time for you to come out of seclusion, because tonight is the day when your spiritual energy will be revived. Wan Konggyun said seriously, the old sect leader asked me to inform you that you need to contribute to the recovery of spiritual energy. Will the spiritual energy be revived so soon? Very good. I have been lurking for so long and I can finally be useful. Suwuji's expression also became serious, a piercing light flashed in his eyes, and he said solemnly, there are hundreds of millions of living beings on the earth, and we will never allow people from outside the territory to do whatever they want here. Brother Su, can you tell me what realm you have entered now? At this time, Wan Konggyun couldn't control the curiosity in his heart and couldn't help but ask. Quasi-Emperor. Suwuji was silent for a few seconds, and then slowly uttered two words. His tone was extremely calm, but it caused an uproar in Wan Konggyun's heart. Quasi-Emperor. He actually set foot in the Quasi-Emperor realm. This is too scary. As Wan Konggyun, he knew some of the secrets of the earth. He once heard Wang Yangming say that there are still quasi-emperors on the earth, and there is more than one, but they are all figures from the immortal Qin period, and they have escaped the Yanlong immortal for more than 2,000 years. The emperors pursued. Wan Konggyun would definitely not be too shocked if he saw a quasi-emperor master. But when he heard that Suwuji was the quasi-emperor, he was so surprised that he even thought he had heard wrong. Because Suwuji was only over 100 years old, even younger than Wan Konggyun. In Wan Konggyun's eyes, Suwuji was just a junior. However, Suwuji's growth rate was too terrifying. In just a few years or more, he had already grown into a powerful figure in the world. At that time, there were no quasi-emperor masters, the ancient martial arts revolution had not started, the cultivation system was ominous, and there was a gap among the powerful people on the earth. Suwuji had the Void Tower to suppress the auspiciousness, and unscrupulously stepped into the realm of pill formation, overwhelming the entire earth. At that time, although Wan Konggyun was polite to Suwuji, he was actually not very convinced. No one thought he would succeed. The nascent soul thunder tribulation was over, and Suwazi disappeared. Wan Kongayun did not hide anything, nodded and said, "The old sect master is already a quasi-emperor. Thanks to the heavenly materials and earthly treasures you brought to the forbidden area, Brother Su, the old sect master forged his own imperial weapon, thus touching the quasi-emperor's threshold." Wan Kongayun smiled bitterly and said, "We have known each other for a long time. I remember when I first met you, you were no match for me. I think you have good talent and we are worthy of brothers." Suwaji gritted his teeth and said, "That old immortal, although he is unambiguous when it comes to matters of right and wrong, he has tricked me several times. After all, if there was no void tower, Suwaji would definitely not be able to set foot on the pill formation. How could he be so powerful in the world? Brother Su, why did you suddenly ask about the old sect master?" "Haha, okay. But he took away less than half of the treasures of heaven and earth that I obtained from various forbidden places during my narrow escape. He made me so angry. He also blamed me for being young and easy to deceive, and for being fooled by him." Wan Kongayun also heard Wang Yangming mention that Suwazi's future growth space is unlimited. "Cannot." Suwaji looked at Wan Kongayun and suddenly asked, "By the way, that old immortal said before that he was about to reach the quasi-emperor realm. After deceiving me about the treasures of heaven and earth, has he succeeded in becoming a quasi-emperor? That old guy is a monkey. He's not in Jiangbei. I feel uneasy. If he dares to go to Jiangbei, it means everything is planned," Suwazi said bluntly. Wan Kongayun smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Su, Wang Yangming is our old sect leader after all. Can you give him a little face and stop calling him an old man?" Back then, I was the only one who could enter and exit the 4 major forbidden areas on Earth freely. I was so happy and picked up treasures everywhere. Many people outside thought he had failed. Even the Flame Dragon Immortal Emperor thought he had won the bet. The reason why they provided a training place in Wudane Mountain was to win over Suwaji. "What's wrong, are you shocked?" Suwazi looked at Wan Kongayun and grinned. "Well, with your good words, I hope I can set foot in martial sainthood as soon as possible. Brother Su, it's time for you to set off for Jiangbei." But Wan Kongayun never expected that only 100 years had passed before Suwaji reached the quasi-emperor realm. Suwaji didn't dislike Wan Kongayun at all, he hugged Wan Kongayun's shoulders directly, and said with a hearty smile, "What's the point? You are following the ancient martial arts system. There is no follow-up path in the ancient martial arts system, and you can't make progress. This is normal. I heard that the ancient martial arts revolution has started, and your room for growth will not be small in the future. After all, you can become the leader of the Tianji sect, not by connections, but by strength," Suwaji reassured. "I didn't expect that now, before I set foot on the martial saint level, you are already at the quasi-emperor level." Suwaji nodded in agreement, and then said, "Is that old immortal Wang Yangming in Jiangbei?" Later, because of the bet, Suwaji abandoned the Void Tower and used his own strength to fight against the evil. This is really unbelievable. Suwaji felt much better when he heard this, but then he gritted his teeth and said, Even so, he has tricked me after all. I will definitely take care of him when I see him. Let's see who is better, he or I." "Yes." Wan Kongayun showed a smile, and then said, "Your great-grandson Su Yang is in Jiangbei now. You should go there early so that you can meet him." "Yes, the old sect leader has met Su Yang, and they are preparing to wait together at the place where the spiritual energy is revived. That's pretty much it. Those things I have are not in vain." But Wan Kongayun knew that instead of failing, Suwazi directly advanced to the middle stage of nascent soul, and his strength improved by leaps and bounds later. The reason why Suwaji is so powerful is simply because of the light from the Void Tower. "Ha ha!" Wan Kongayun spread his hands and said, "Now, the gap between us is so big that I don't even dare to call you Brother Su. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 839. Suwaji and Wang Yangming have known each other more than 100 years ago. Their relationship is quite complicated and they try to trick each other. Although they are not very harmonious, they are not enemies. They can only be said to be bad friends. Usually you cheat me and I cheat you, but when it comes to really big things, no one will be vague. Otherwise, Wang Yangming would not have brought Suwaji to the Tianji Gate restricted area to provide him with a training place. Now, after learning that the recovery of spiritual energy was about to begin, Suwaji briefly chatted with Wang Konggyun and walked out of the forbidden area. Wang Konggyun followed closely behind. Soon, outside the forbidden area, I've met Lord Su. Many old Taoist priests who were guarding outside the forbidden area stood up and saluted after seeing Suwazi, their eyes full of respect. Lord Su. This is what the world called Suwaji more than 100 years ago. 9 heavens and 10 earths, serve me as your lord. Lord Su. Although it happened more than 100 years ago, these old Taoist priests offer Suwaji has become deeply ingrained and cannot be erased. Master Su, I haven't heard anyone call me that for a long time. Suwaji stood there, slightly absent-minded, but he quickly came to his senses, raised his head and glanced at the sky, and smiled softly. The air outside is really good, but this is no longer what I saw before. It's the sun and the moon. The sea has changed, and the years are like a song. In the blink of an eye, 100 years have passed. Suwaji couldn't help but sigh, and then he jumped directly out of Wudane Mountain. Many old Taoist priests at the scene watched Suwaji disappear, unable to react for a long time. Master, what realm has Master Su entered now? After a long time, an old Taoist priest asked. Quasi-Emperor. Wang Konggyun did not hide anything and said truthfully, he is already a quasi-emperor. A century-old quasi-emperor, so terrifying. This. When the old Taoist priest heard this, he was immediately dumbfounded and shocked beyond measure. Quasi-emperor, in the future, a powerful person with the level of quasi-emperor will be born. This is really unbelievable. Yes, there is ominousness in heaven and earth that restrains cultivators. Lord Su actually stepped into the quasi-emperor under the ominous oppression. It is admirable. We have followed the ancient martial arts system. After the reform of ancient martial arts, we have never set foot in the realm of martial saints. We are not even as good as nascent soul, but we are already complacent. Thinking about it now, it is really ridiculous. Master Su is worthy of being Master Su. He is always at the forefront. No wonder he was able to break the ominous shackles with his own strength. Master Su's future achievements are limitless. I heard the old sect leader mention it at the beginning. He almost couldn't help but steal the opportunity of that great man and wanted to reincarnate as Master Su's descendant. Haha, I've heard about it. It's just that the old sect leader couldn't keep his face clear. After all, the relationship between him and Suwazi is quite complicated. He was afraid that he would lose face if Suwazi knew about it, so he didn't enter reincarnation. Shut up, don't talk nonsense about this kind of thing, don't forget the old sect master's methods, he has no omissions, be careful not to let him know. When Wang Konggyun heard the conversation between these uncles and uncles, he couldn't help but smile bitterly, but he didn't dare to interrupt. After saying a respectful farewell, he took Wang Ye out of the forbidden area and returned to the main hall of Tianjimen. Disciple, what are your plans for the future? Suddenly, Wang Konggyun asked. Practice. Wang Ye said seriously, I know that my current strength is very weak. The gap between me and Su Yang is getting bigger and bigger. Only by practicing hard can I have a chance to surpass him. No. When Wan Kong heard this, he shook his head and said mercilessly, "You can never surpass Su Yang. The things here are very complicated. In short, Su Yang, you can't surpass him. Of course, it's not your fault. It's not that you are stupid, but that Su Yang is different." Wan Kong continued, "If nothing happens, when the spiritual energy revives tonight, Su Yang will become the protagonist between heaven and earth and dominate the destiny of the earth. This is a height you can never reach." "That's it?" After hearing the master's words, Wang Ye looked a little depressed and was obviously shocked. "Disciple, I am telling you this not to deliberately attack you, but to tell you not to choose the wrong opponent." Wan Kong looked at Wang Ye and said earnestly, "Ever since you lost to Su Yang in the 100 sex martial arts competition, I have noticed that you seem to be a different person, forgetting to sleep and eat, and practicing day and night. I know you are unwilling. You have always been the best in the world. There are almost no opponents who can compete with you. Among your peers, only the Buddhist disciple Wuji is qualified to be your opponent. But the two of you are just evenly matched. If you really fight, the outcome is unknown. But Su Yang completely defeated you that day, and he used your best skills." Wan Kong continued, "I can understand your reluctance. If it were me, I would be the same as you. But I don't recommend that you consider Su Yang as your opponent, because he is too strong. Even if you try your best and chase her for the rest of your life, you still can't catch up with her." Wan Kong advised, "If things go on like this, your condition will only get worse and worse, and your cultivation progress will naturally be greatly reduced, which is not good for you. You should learn to let go, stop pushing yourself so hard, and calm down to delve into the strange arts." Wan Kong continued, "Only in this way will you have the opportunity to go further on this road. Disciple, do you understand what it means to be a teacher?" "Master, I..." When Wang Ye heard these words, he smiled bitterly. "At first, when I first met Su Yang, I didn't take him seriously at all. Later I found out that he hid his strength, but I still ignored him." Wang Ye said, "I never regarded him as my opponent because I thought he was not worthy. But I never expected that he would be able to defeat me, and he would use my best magic technique. I cannot accept this. I cannot accept that someone among my peers can defeat me with extraordinary skills. This is simply a great shame for me." Wang Ye gritted his teeth and said, "So I practiced hard and wanted to find a chance to defeat Su Yang and prove myself. However, Master, I have discovered that in the past 6 months, although my realm has been improving, my attainments in the art of Kimen have not improved at all." Wang Ye smiled bitterly and said, "It seems that I have encountered a bottleneck. Since I was born, I have been sought after by others. My talent in Kimen's art is indeed unparalleled. I once thought that the word bottleneck had nothing to do with me, but I didn't expect that after losing to Su Yang, I had a bottleneck." Wang Ye met Wan Kong gaze and asked for help. "Master, now I can't calm down. I can't be comforted by just a few words. What do you think I should do?" After Wan Kong was silent for a moment, he turned and slowly said, "In that case, Wang Ye, why don't you go outside the territory?" Urban Super Dude. Author, Eagle in the Desert. Chapter 840. Go outside the territory? After hearing what Master Wan Kong said, Wang Ye was stunned, his eyes full of surprise. "Master, isn't there full of uncertainty outside the territory? The ancient Starry Sky Road has been around for so long, and very few people have stepped into it voluntarily." Wang Ye was obviously a little wary of the outside world, and asked doubtfully, "Unless Xiao Yuan comes to an end, who will set foot on the ancient road of the starry sky? Besides, going outside the territory is not necessarily better than staying on Earth. Master, are you serious?" "Nature." Wan Kong stroked his beard and smiled softly, "You are right, the outside world is indeed full of uncertainties. That's because the ancient starry sky road extends in all directions and can lead to countless star fields. Outer territory is just a general term for those star territories. Some star territories may not be comparable to the Earth, or even much worse than the Earth. Wang Kongyun continued, but some star fields have resources that can completely crush the Earth today. Medicinal materials that are thousands of years old cannot be called old medicine in those star regions, they are just ordinary medicinal materials. In this star region, only medicinal materials that are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years old are old medicine. Wang Kongyun continued, also, in those powerful star regions, the cultivation systems are mature, but on Earth, both the ancient martial arts system and the cultivation system have developed faults. If you go to a powerful star field, with your talent, you will definitely be valued, get guidance from experts, and have the support of a mature system, your future achievements will be limitless. Wang Kongyun looked at Wang Ye, and then said a shocking news, as far as I know, Buddha Wuji has already set foot on the ancient road of the starry sky a few days ago. What? Wang Ye was shocked and said, Buddha Wuji went outside the territory. He is a peerless evildoer who has not appeared in Bodhi Mountain for 10,000 years. How can the abbot of Bodhi Mountain be willing to let him take risks? Disciple, listen to what my master has to say. Who told you that this is a risk? Wang Kongyun smiled softly and said, actually, the ancient road of the starry sky has been thoroughly studied by others. Each of our famous mountains has a starry sky map. As long as you follow the guidance of the starry sky map, you can go to a more powerful star field. Wang Kongyun continued, looking at the vast universe, there are countless star fields, but the truly powerful star fields can only be counted with one hand. Like Xiantian Star Territory, Jinwu Star Territory, Yanlong Star Territory, Qinghuang Star Territory. These star regions are all named after the strongest people in that star region. For example, the strongest person in the Xiantian Star region is the Xiantian Immortal Emperor, and the strongest person in the Yanlong Star region is the Yanlong Immortal Emperor. Wang Kongyun continued, Immortal Emperor Yanlong, you should be familiar with this. He is plotting against the Earth, and he is the one who brought the bad luck. As far as I know, the place where Buddha Ziwiji went was the Jinwu Star Territory. The old monk from Bodhi Mountain once said that he should use Buddha to suppress martial arts. I hope that one day he can change the name of the Jinwu Star Territory so that the light of Buddha can shine everywhere. True martial arts. They all wanted to break through to the imperial realm, so they always wanted to find out about mysterious things. As a result, more than a dozen Emperor Realm people died in the Starry Sky Ancient Road. Since then, the Starry Sky Ancient Road has disappeared. More than 2,000 years ago, when Immortal Emperor Yanlong came to Earth, he studied the ancient road in the Starry Sky, but found nothing. Wang Kongyun continued, Taoism in the demonic star region, if you look carefully, has some connections with our Wudane Mountains. I see. Wang Kongyun said, so, in order to control the Earth, the Yanlong Immortal Emperor forced the powerful people on the Earth to step into the ancient starry sky one by one. The whereabouts of those people are still unknown. Wang Kongyun continued, who knew that more than 2,000 years ago, the ancient road in the starry sky would appear on the Earth. At first, Immortal Emperor Yanlong didn't dare to study the ancient starry sky road in depth, but he knew that once he stepped on the ancient starry sky road, he would either die or lead to another star field. Wang Ye shook his head and then guessed, the starry sky ancient road was arranged by Emperor Yanlong to deal with the Earth. Also, who drew the starry sky map? Are there such talented people on Earth? Countless powerful people in the star field want to thoroughly study the ancient road in the starry sky, but no one has succeeded. There are even extremely powerful people who are lost in the ancient road in the starry sky. In this way, your progress will definitely be very fast, and it won't take long for you to grow into a towering tree. Wan Konggyun looked at Wang Ye and said, "Of course, this is just my teacher's suggestion. You need to make your own decision whether you want to go or not." "Master, I'm going." When Wang Ye heard this, he nodded. The rejection in his eyes disappeared and was filled with desire. "Master, which star field are you going to send me to?" Wang Ye didn't hesitate at all and said resolutely, "This opportunity is simply prepared for me. Since there is no room for my development on Earth, I will go outside the territory and find another way." Wan Konggyun continued, "The last time the Starry Sky Ancient Road appeared in Xiantian Star Territory, it attracted many Emperor Realm experts to study it. One of them is a demon cultivator, and the other is a Taoist cultivator. They are incompatible with each other. The forces of both sides are in constant conflict." Wan Konggyun finally concluded, "In short, we have a starry sky map, so we don't need to worry about straying into a bad star field." This. About 100 years ago, immortal Emperor Xiantian came to Earth. He had studied the ancient road to the starry sky and had some experience. This time he succeeded and drew many starry sky maps, which can help those who set foot on the ancient road to the starry sky. "Go to the star field marked on the starry sky map." Wang Ye said seriously, "Sooner or later, I will become powerful and fill the sky and the universe with Taoist dojos." Wan Konggyun directly denied it. "He doesn't have that strength yet. The starry sky ancient road appeared out of thin air. It just appeared inexplicably and suddenly appeared on the earth. I will work hard. The ancient road in the starry sky was formed by God's will. It is mysterious and unpredictable. It has appeared in the sky and the universe several times throughout the ages." "Good." Having said this, Wan Konggyun looked at Wang Ye and smiled softly. "Disciple, immortal Emperor Xiantian has entered reincarnation and is now on Earth. Do you know what his name is in this life?" Wang Ye nodded solemnly, then suddenly thought of a question, and asked, "Master, what you just said is news from outside the territory. You have never been outside the territory, how did you know about it?" "But there is no truly strongest person in this star field, because there are two people who are equally strong. They have been fighting for countless years, but there is no winner." Wan Konggyun said seriously, "In addition to the star fields I mentioned before, there is another star field that is also extremely powerful." Wan Konggyun nodded with joy, and then said, "Apprentice, as my master, I will be waiting for your good news in Wudang Mountain. I hope that in time, the demonic star territory can be renamed Wudang Star Territory. Demon Star Realm. Immortal Emperor Yanlong. If you go to the Demon Star Territory, you will definitely be taken seriously, and you can also fight against the demon cult and hone yourself." Wan Konggyun did not hide anything and said truthfully, "What I know as a teacher is all what immortal Emperor Xiantian said. More than 100 years ago, immortal Emperor Xiantian came to the earth. By the way, do you know the ancient road in the starry sky?"